Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are taking a deep dive into what is arguably the most tactically defining season in modern English football. It is the story of a team that was tired of being second best, a team that transformed from a group of stylish runners-up into a ruthless, unbreakable machine. We are talking about the 2001-02 Arsenal team. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. To truly understand the sheer force of Arsenal's 2001-02 campaign, you have to understand the 3 agonizing years that preceded it. After Arsene Wenger led Arsenal to a historic Premier League and FA Cup double in the 1997-98 season, the English landscape was utterly dominated by Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United. In 1998-99, 1999-2000, and 2000-01, Arsenal finished as the Premier League runners-up. The 1998-99 title was lost by a single, agonizing point. The public perception of Arsene Wenger's squad had solidified into a harsh, undeniable narrative. The media lauded Arsenal for their beautiful, fluid football, bringing a new French flair to Highbury with a core of incredibly talented French players. But the British press also labeled them as soft. They were viewed as a team of artists who lacked the physical grit to survive the brutal, freezing winter months of English football. They were beautiful, but they were fragile. Wenger knew that to break the Manchester United monopoly, he didn't just need more talent. He needed a psychological weapon. He needed a wall. And in the summer of 2001, he delivered the biggest shock the Premier League had ever seen. In July 2001, the English football media was summoned for a press conference at Arsenal's training ground. The Daily Mirror's John Cross-Later recalled that journalists had arrived expecting the unveiling of Richard Wright, a highly rated young goalkeeper. Most people assumed that the biggest free agent on the market, Tottenham Hotspur captain Sol Campbell, was headed to Barcelona or Inter Milan. But when the doors opened, it wasn't Wright who walked in. It was Sol Campbell. The room was stunned. Wenger had crossed the bitter battle lines of North London to steal his rival's most iconic player for absolutely nothing. Wenger later explained the coup, stating, "I felt we could not compete on financial basis with the top clubs, but we could give him a football challenge." For Tottenham fans, the betrayal was biblical. During that infamous return match, 4,000 white Judas balloons filled the away end, alongside a massive banner quoting John 13 verse 27, "The moment Satan enters Judas." The hostility was so anticipated that Campbell's own Arsenal teammates had actually booed him during training sessions just to prepare him for the toxic atmosphere he would face. But for Arsenal, Campbell was the missing piece. Alongside the legendary veterans Tony Adams and Martin Keown, Campbell completely transformed the defensive identity of the club, and the idea that Arsenal was physically weak was dead on arrival. With the defense fortified, Wenger unleashed a tactical system that was light years ahead of its time. On paper, Arsenal played a traditional 4-4-2, which was the standard, rigid formation utilized by almost every club in the country at the time. But in practice, it was a fluid, devastating transition machine built around highly specialized roles that demanded incredible tactical intelligence. The driving force behind this was Thierry Henry. Signed from Juventus for €17 million in 1999, Henry was a converted winger who broke every conventional rule of center-forward play. Instead of operating as a static target man, he was constantly on the move, dropping deep or drifting to the left flank to isolate terrified center-backs in one-on-one sprints, pulling defensive lines completely out of shape. Beside him, Dennis Bergkamp acted as the ultimate facilitator in the shadow striker role, dropping between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines to thread impossible through balls to his running teammates. The Dutchman's spatial awareness and technical mastery provided the perfect counterbalance to Henry's explosive pace. Robert Pires was the team's true orchestrator. Operating nominally on the left wing, the right-footed maestro constantly drifted inside to act as a traditional number 10, completely confusing opposition fullbacks who didn't know whether to track him into the midfield or hold their position. To balance this inward movement, Ashley Cole functioned as a one-man left flank, using his blazing speed and endless stamina to constantly overlap Pires and provide dangerous width in the final third, while still possessing the recovery pace to sprint back and defend. On the right back, Lauren, another converted midfielder, brought ironclad discipline and technical brilliance, picking his moments to attack while ensuring defensive solidity against counterattacks. Because Lauren held the shape and provided a reliable safety net on that side of the pitch, Freddie Ljungberg was freed to be the ultimate phantom on the right wing, completely avoiding the ball at his feet to make chaotic, perfectly timed blindside sprints into the penalty box to finish off the spaces created by Bergkamp and Henry. Anchoring it all was Captain Patrick Vieira, a towering physical force who won the ball back with sheer ferocity and immediately transitioned defense into attack with his galloping, unstoppable strides through the center of the pitch. Aided by the tireless work rate of Ray Parlour beside him, Vieira dictated the physical and technical tempo of every match. When they won the ball back, this combination of players launched a terrifying synchronization of movement that no English team could map out, turning defensive recoveries into lethal, breathless counterattacks in a matter of seconds. However, greatness does not arrive without friction, and the transition into a championship winning machine was far from seamless. The early months of the 2001-02 season were plagued by the same maddening inconsistencies that had haunted Arsenal in previous years. Domestically, a bizarre paradox began to emerge. While their away form was shockingly resilient, as they remained undefeated on their travels in the Premier League, their performances at the usually formidable Highbury caused major consternation among supporters. Frustrating, home defeats to Leeds United and London rivals Charlton Athletic raised serious doubts about their title credentials. The fans grew noticeably nervous, murmurs of discontent echoed through the stands, and the British media was more than ready to write them off once again, questioning if Wenger's men had the psychological stamina required to endure a grueling title race. In the middle of these early domestic struggles, one fixture loomed larger than the rest: Sol Campbell's terrifying return to White Hart Lane in mid-November. The atmosphere was as savage and deeply hostile as promised, with thousands of white Judas balloons filling the sky and unrelenting, deafening abuse raining down on the defender every single time he touched the ball. Despite the immense psychological hostility, Campbell remained remarkably composed, anchoring the backline, and Arsenal looked destined for a gritty, statement-making victory after Robert Pires gave them a late lead. However, in a perfect encapsulation of their early season vulnerability and lack of absolute focus, they failed to close the game out, allowing Gus Poyet to snatch a dramatic 94th-minute equalizer that sent the home crowd into a frenzy and left the Gunners dropping crucial points. These early season domestic stumbles were mirrored by a deeply crazy, chaotic Champions League campaign. In the first group stage, Arsenal lost 1-0 away to Real Mallorca after a disastrous early red card for Ashley Cole threw their tactical plan into disarray. They struggled to pick up a single point away from home initially, showcasing a massive vulnerability on the continent where European teams easily disrupted their rhythm. Yet, in stark contrast to their league form, they would return to Highbury and display undeniable European brilliance, taking revenge on Mallorca with a clinical 3-1 victory. That home dominance would be just enough for qualification, as the team incredibly managed to win all 3 matches at home and lose all 3 away, advancing to the second phase entirely on the edge of a tiebreaker, heavily reliant on a crucial Thierry Henry goal in added time against Mallorca. But the true turning point of their collective mentality occurred not under the European lights, but in a crucial, high-stakes Premier League game right before Christmas, against Liverpool. This game served as the ultimate, undeniable test for Arsenal's newfound physical and mental resilience. After Giovanni van Bronckhorst was controversially sent off with a second yellow card in the first half for diving, the team was suddenly forced to survive with 10 men in one of the most intimidating, hostile stadiums in all of Europe. Instead of crumbling under the overwhelming pressure and retreating into their shell as previous iterations of the team might have done, Arsenal fought relentlessly, covering every blade of grass to dictate the tempo of the game. Defying all tactical logic, Henry and Ljungberg scored while operating with 10 men, as Arsenal incredibly held off Liverpool's relentless late pressure to secure a gritty 2-1 victory. It was a monumental result that permanently shattered the media's tired narrative that Arsène Wenger's team was too soft for a grueling title fight. After that monumental victory at Anfield, something fundamental changed within the dressing room psychology, and the team just became better, faster, and infinitely more ruthless as the calendar hit 2002. In the meanwhile, the frustrating duality that plagued them from early in the season unfortunately followed Arsenal directly into the Champions League second group stage. Their glaring inconsistency playing outside the comforting walls of Highbury on European nights immediately paid a heavy price, as they traveled to Spain and suffered a disappointing 2-0 defeat to Deportivo La Coruña to start the second phase on the wrong foot. However, just 2 weeks later, they rebounded and produced one of the most brilliant, electrifying European nights in the club's entire history. Facing Italian giants Juventus, who arrived with an absolute dream team featuring global icons like Gianluigi Buffon, Lilian Thuram, Gianluca Zambrotta, Pavel Nedved, Alessandro Del Piero, and David Trezeguet, Arsenal completely overwhelmed them in a brilliant, statement-making 3-1 victory. Frediel Ljungberg was absolutely phenomenal that night, terrorizing the Italian defense and scoring twice, while Thierry Henry spectacularly punished his former club by expertly chipping in a superb, curling free kick. At that exact moment, it genuinely felt like Arsenal had finally arrived on the elite European stage. And the next sequence of matches perfectly showed this newfound continental confidence, as they secured 4 out of 6 points against the eventual tournament runners-up, Bayer Leverkusen. This crucial points haul would leave them in a comfortable position after 4 games, as they stood proudly as group leaders and just needed a single win in their next 2 matches to advance to the knockout rounds. But, tragically, their chronic inability to consistently secure results, coupled with a sudden loss of nerve, ultimately doomed them. First, they suffered a completely surprising and devastating 2-0 loss at home to Deportivo La Coruña, setting up a terrifying scenario as Arsenal went to Turin to face a Juventus side that was already mathematically eliminated. In an odd echoing atmosphere in front of only around 8,000 fans in the massive Stadio del Alpi, Arsenal fell flat and lost 1-0 as they heartbreakingly crashed out of the Champions League in the second group stage. Adding to the agony of the elimination, the usually reliable Thierry Henry suffered the rare misery of missing crucial penalties in both of those fatal final matches. As the domestic Football League Cup campaign had already abruptly ended earlier in the winter following a heavy 4-0 quarter-final defeat to the Blackburn Rovers, the Gunners suddenly found themselves with a much lighter schedule, having only the FA Cup and the Premier League remaining on their calendar. Obviously, it is never great for a top club with high ambitions to lose relatively early in 2 major cup competitions. However, for Arsenal, this sudden elimination might just have been the ultimate blessing in disguise. Their main bitter rivals for the Premier League title, Manchester United and Liverpool, successfully navigated the grueling European schedule and went through to the Champions League knockout stages, meaning they would face massive physical fatigue at the exact stage of the season when all 3 teams were fiercely fighting point by point for the domestic trophy. Stripped of their exhausting European distractions and midweek travel, Wenger's men turned their absolute, terrifying, and undivided focus to completely conquering the Premier League and the FA Cup. By early spring, the title race against Manchester United and Liverpool had reached a boiling point, with the margin for error practically non-existent. And then, disaster struck. In an FA Cup tie against Newcastle United in March 2002, Robert Pires, who was the undisputed creative heartbeat of the team and would go on to win the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year, suffered a catastrophic cruciate ligament injury. His season, and his dream of playing in the 2002 World Cup, were instantly over, leaving a heavy cloud of dread hanging over North London. Wenger suddenly had to adapt and re-engineer a side that had just lost its French genius, a massive obstacle that many pundits believed would completely end the Gunners' title dreams and hand the trophy straight back to Sir Alex Ferguson. But this is where the 2001-02 squad proved they were different. They didn't crack under suffocating pressure. Instead, the attention shifted to Frediel Ljungberg, who responded by producing the best football of his entire career. With his iconic red-dyed hair serving as a visual representation of his newly unleashed energy, Ljungberg embarked on an incredible goal-scoring run after Pires' injury, as he acted as the ultimate clutch performer. He became the driving force of the attack, repeatedly timing his late blindside runs into the box to perfection, scoring 6 and assisting 3 in the next 8 games of the Premier League campaign, as the team, bolstered by players like Sylvain Wiltord stepping up to fill the tactical void left by the Frenchman, rallied behind him and Henry. It was an astonishing display of depth and psychological resilience. In previous years, the loss of a star player would have derailed them and sparked a familiar collapse. This year, it only made them more ruthless, as Arsenal entered the final stretch of the season on an unbelievable winning streak. On May 4th, they travelled to the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff for the FA Cup final against City rivals Chelsea. Thanks to two spectacular goals from Ray Parlour and Frediel Ljungberg, Arsenal secured a 2-0 victory, lifting the first half of the double. But the ultimate test awaited them just 4 days later. To win the Premier League, they had to travel to Old Trafford, Manchester United's home. Arsenal didn't need a win. A draw would have been enough to secure the title. But Wenger's team wanted to rip the crown off Sir Alex Ferguson's head in his own living room. The odds, however, were stacked impossibly high. Pires was out. Tony Adams was out. And, in the morning of the match, Thierry Henry was ruled out with a hamstring injury. However, no Henry, no problem. United threw everything at Arsenal, but Sol Campbell delivered a defensive masterclass, proving exactly why Wenger had brought him to the club. The game was a brutal tactical stalemate until the 56th minute. Frediel Ljungberg burst through the middle, firing a clumsy but well-targeted shot that goalkeeper Fabian Barthez could only deviate. The ball fell perfectly into the path of Sylvain Wiltord, who slotted it home to make it 1-0. After that, Arsenal locked the game down completely. When the final whistle blew, they had done the impossible. They won the Premier League at Old Trafford. The statistics of the 2001-02 season remain an incredible benchmark in English football history. They went the entire Premier League season without losing a single game away from home. Even more remarkably, they scored a goal in every single one of their 38 Premier League fixtures, a statistical anomaly of attacking consistency, while being the best defense in the league. They closed out the season on a phenomenal 13-game winning streak and a 21-game undefeated streak in the Premier League. Reflecting on that achievement, Wenger noted, "I had special players and a special team, and we had a special spirit." In his matchday program notes after securing the double, he wrote directly to the fans, "I would like to personally thank you all. You are the best supporters in England." History often overlooks this squad in favor of the 2003-04 Invincibles, but without the physical evolution, the tactical blueprint, and the sheer mental fortitude developed in 2001-02, the Invincibles would never have existed. And even though not losing a single game during a season is impressive, this campaign deserved their flowers, as this was the team that taught Arsenal how to be champions again. And that is it. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, as in the next few days I will be posting an Ultimate World Cup guide for you. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this 2001-02 team could have beaten the Invincibles? See you in the next video.